Ethan Reeves, my former best friend, my current and soon-to-be former nemesis. He's live, of course, always live. His thousands of followers, his Reeves renegades, are no doubt hanging on his every word, blissfully unaware of the charlatan behind the million-dollar smile. My breath catches, a familiar tightness constricting my chest as he holds it up. A small, unassuming, leather-bound journal. My journal. The one filled with the messy, unfiltered scrawl of a girl who dared to dream. A girl who naively poured her heart onto its pages. A visceral wave of déjà vu crashes over me, so potent it almost knocks the air from my lungs. I can smell the stale coffee from that cramped dorm room, hear the distant campus bells, feel the agonizing, visceral shame of that other time. The first time he did this. The first time he splayed my soul open for the world to mock. That time, it had been the beginning of my end. This time, however, a slow, deliberate smile curves my lips. It's a smile that doesn't quite reach my eyes, not yet. Those are reserved, watchful. I've had a year. A whole year they don't know about. A year since I woke up, gasping, back in a life I thought was over. The memories of my previous tragic trajectory seared into my mind like a brand. A year to meticulously, painstakingly prepare for this exact moment, this precise betrayal. The universe, in its bizarre, inexplicable way, had hit rewind, and I'd landed back with a second chance I never asked for but damn well intended to use. My fingers, steady now after that initial jolt, move across the smooth surface of my laptop. A few lines of code, a sequence I've rehearsed in my mind 1,000 times. You really, really should have learned your lesson the first time, Ethan, I whisper, the words a soft vow in the otherwise silent room. My voice is surprisingly even. The click of the enter key is quiet, almost anticlimactic, but it resonates through me like a thunderclap. The first, almost silent act of a revenge a year in the making has just been initiated. And oh, it's only the beginning, Ethan. The name itself is a complicated knot in my stomach. A tangle of affection turned to ash, trust corroded by ambition. He's a walking, talking embodiment of how the brightest connections can curdle into the darkest betrayals. We found each other in the crowded anonymity of a freshman creative writing seminar. He was all tousled brown hair, a disarming, lopsided grin, and a nervous energy that somehow complemented my quiet intensity. I was the shy girl in the corner, the one who always had her nose in a book or a pen flying across a notebook. He saw me, or I thought he did. Our friendship blossomed under the flickering fluorescent lights of the campus library and over countless cups of burnt late-night diner coffee. We were both aspiring writers, united by that desperate, intoxicating dream of weaving words into worlds. He'd read my clumsy early chapters, offering surprisingly insightful feedback. I'd listened to his grand, sometimes rambling ideas for epic poems and sprawling sagas. He had a way of making you feel like your dreams weren't just possible, but inevitable. It was in one of those caffeine-fueled 3 a.m. confessionals, the city a distant hum below my dorm window, that I told him my deepest secret. The one I barely dared to whisper even to myself. I wanted to be a novelist. More than anything. He'd looked at me then, his eyes wide with what I mistook for genuine admiration, and said, "Mia, you will be. I know it." I believed him. I'd even had a stupid, fleeting crush on him, a secret I'd buried deep even from the pages of my diary. Good thing, too. Now he's Ethan Reeves, an online demigod of lifestyle influencing. His brand is all about authenticity and living your truth, buzzwords he spouts with a conviction that would be admirable if it weren't built on a mountain of lies. My lies, initially, my private life, my journal entries, my very essence, had become the raw material for his meteoric rise. In that first life, the one that ended in the suffocating darkness of my bedroom with a handful of pills and the sirens wailing in the distance, his televised betrayal was the public execution of my spirit. The online comments, the laughter, the derision. It had flayed me alive. My words, my vulnerabilities, twisted into clickbait, into content. He built his kingdom on my ruins. And then there's Vanessa, my older sister. Vanessa, with her perfect hair, her cutting remarks, and a jealousy that had simmered beneath the surface of our relationship for as long as I could remember. She'd always resented my quiet passion for writing, perhaps because it was the one arena where I might outshine her. While I lost myself in fictional worlds, she curated her flawless image on social media, each post a carefully constructed facade. When Ethan began his ascent, fueled by my public humiliation, Vanessa was right there. His co-pilot, his adoring girlfriend, his business partner. She was the one feeding him the intimate details, the little anecdotes he could spin into gold. After I was gone, she didn't just mourn. She plagiarized. My manuscript, the one that held every piece of my broken heart and resurrected hope, the story I'd bled onto the page, appeared 6 months after my funeral under her name, Vanessa Chen. It became an instant bestseller. The irony was a cruel, posthumous joke. Her betrayals weren't a sudden aberration. They were a well-established pattern, a theme song of our childhood. I remember being 10, winning a regional poetry contest. My poem was about the ancient oak tree at the bottom of our garden, its branches like gnarled arms reaching for the sky. I was so proud. The certificate, when it arrived, hung on the refrigerator door, but it bore Vanessa's name. "Oh, Mia, you don't mind, do you, sweetie?" Mom had cooed, ruffling my hair in that dismissive way she had. "Vanessa's a bit older. It'll give her such a confidence boost. You're a natural. You'll write plenty more." I'd swallowed the bitter pill of injustice just like I always did. I learned to hide my notebooks, to guard my words like precious, fragile jewels. But some talents, some passions, refuse to stay hidden, no matter how deeply you try to bury them. Vanessa's resentment grew in proportion to every small success I couldn't entirely conceal. Completing the trifecta of my personal Judas Iscariots is Harrison Wells, my literary agent. Or rather, my former literary agent from that other life. When Ethan's Livestream hit the internet like a dirty bomb, when the digital mob came for me with their pitchforks and flaming comments, Harrison had dropped me with the speed and decisiveness of a guillotine. He'd called, his voice cool and distant, citing irreconcilable reputational damage. I was unmarketable, he'd declared, too much baggage. Funny how quickly his principles evaporated when Vanessa, a vision in Chanel, sashayed into his opulent office with my manuscript, barely a month after my name was etched onto a tombstone. He signed her on the spot. The advance was rumored to be astronomical. Now he represents both of them, the golden couple of the publishing and influencing worlds. He basks in their reflected glory, completely oblivious to the fact that the quiet, efficient woman who fetches his almond milk lattes and expertly organizes his chaotic schedule, Ethan Reeves' new, unassuming personal assistant, is meticulously compiling a damning dossier on his every shady deal and unethical practice. The memory of a publishing industry gala from a few months ago still stings, a fresh pinprick in an old wound. I was there, of course, in my official capacity as Ethan's lackey, a ghost in a sensible pantsuit trailing in his dazzling wake. Harrison, resplendent in a tailored suit that probably cost more than my annual salary, brushed past me as if I were a piece of furniture, a dismissive, unseeing glance. Not a flicker of recognition. Minutes later, I watched him, a grim fascination coiling in my gut, as he fawned over Ethan and Vanessa, his laughter a booming, artificial construct, his praise dripping with cloying sycophancy. Opportunistic, shallow, utterly predictable. He hadn't changed a bit. None of them had, that unholy trinity. My best friend, my sister, my agent, they had systematically dismantled my life, stolen my work, profited from my pain, and ultimately driven me to a place where oblivion seemed the only solace. But this isn't that life. In this life, I'm not the broken, naive victim. I'm the orchestrator of a reckoning they won't see coming until it's far too late. I have the advantage of foresight, a year's worth of memories they don't possess. A year to lay the groundwork to set the stage, and the overture has just begun. On the screen, Ethan is now theatrically clearing his throat, his eyes twinkling with faux mischief as he opens my diary. He's chosen a passage, I see, about a new manuscript idea I'd been toying with in those pages, a psychological thriller, a departure from my usual style. He reads my tentative, exploring words, my doubts, my fledgling excitement, his voice laced with a patronizing amusement. His followers, the Reeves renegades, are eating it up. The live chat scrolls at lightning speed, a torrent of laughing emojis, cruel jokes, and dismissive comments. OMG, she actually thinks she can write a thriller? Ethan, you're hilarious. Stick to your assistant duties, sweetie. LOL. Ethan, you're too good to her, even reading her cringy diary. What a saint. The words are like tiny poison darts, but this time they glance off an armor I've painstakingly forged. If they only knew what was truly cringy. If they only knew what kind of saint Ethan really was. My phone, resting on the polished table beside my laptop, buzzes. A text message. Vanessa, naturally. OMG, Mia, he's actually doing it. You must be absolutely mortified. Don't worry, little sis. I'll make sure he doesn't reveal any actual spoilers from your masterpiece. Tee-hee. The winky face, the diminutive little sis, the casual cruelty, it's all vintage Vanessa. Pure, unadulterated malice disguised as playful concern. My thumb hovers over the delete button, but no, I save it. Evidence. Another buzz, a phone call this time. Harrison Wells. His name flashes on the screen, and I let it ring twice before answering, schooling my voice into a tone of flustered vulnerability. Mia, darling, Harrison here. His voice oozes a synthetic blend of concern and professional curiosity. Just checking in. Heard about Ethan's little, shall we say, performance on his stream. Terribly awkward for you, I imagine. But tell me, this new manuscript he mentioned. Anything I should know about it? You know my door is always open for promising new talent. Even unexpected talent. He's fishing, the old shark, smelling potential blood in the water or perhaps a new commodity to exploit. My diary, once a source of my deepest shame, is now the bait, and he's nibbling. Perfect. The following day at the Reeves Global office, Ethan's ridiculously opulent, glass-walled testament to his own ego. I play the part of the humiliated underling. I'm quiet, I keep my eyes downcast. I offer nervous, apologetic smiles. When Ethan, in a rare moment of what he probably considers magnanimity, claps me on the shoulder and offers a cursory, "Hey, Mia, sorry about yesterday, you know? Just a bit of fun, all in good sport. No hard feelings?" I nod meekly, murmuring something about being overly sensitive and how I understand it's all part of the influencer game. I even, with a hesitant, seemingly spontaneous offer, suggest helping him organize his upcoming book launch party. Not the fictional book from my diary, but his actual upcoming release, a ghost-written collection of vapid platitudes titled Live Your Best Lie, I Mean Life. Okay, I added the lie part in my head. He beams, his smile wide and self-satisfied. See, Mia, that's the spirit. You're a good sport. That's why we tolerate you. Value you around here. He chuckles, oblivious to the steel in my gaze that I quickly veil. Later that week, I have a scheduled meeting with Harrison. His office is a symphony in chrome and black leather, perched high above the city, designed to intimidate and impress in equal measure. He leans back in his throne-like chair, steepling his fingers, regarding me with an expression that's a masterclass in condescension. So, Mia, he begins, his tone dripping with the kind of exaggerated patience one uses with a particularly slow child. This little story of yours that Ethan so unceremoniously brought to light, I'm, of course, happy to take a cursory glance. Purely as a favor, you understand. Don't get your hopes up, naturally. The market is absolutely brutal for debut authors, especially for those without a certain proven platform. The unspoken comparison to Vanessa hangs heavy in the air. I offer him my most convincing imitation of doe-eyed gratitude. Oh, thank you, Harrison. That's incredibly generous of you. I really appreciate you giving it a chance. I'll send something over as soon as it's ready. My voice even has a little tremor. I'm rather proud of that touch. The preparations for Ethan's book launch party escalate into a frenzy of activity. It's slated to be the influencer event of the season. A-listers, media sharks, brand executives, the whole glittering, vacuous circus. While meticulously reviewing the guest list spreadsheet, a task deemed suitably menial for me, I make a few judicious additions. a couple of tenacious investigative journalists known for their exposés on influencer fraud and ghostwriting scandals, a highly respected, notoriously sharp-tongued literary critic with a particular disdain for plagiarism and inauthenticity. Just a few carefully chosen seeds of potential chaos sprinkled into the fertile ground of Ethan's Vanity Fair. Late one night, fueled by black coffee and a cold, simmering satisfaction, I draft an email to Harrison. Attached is a partial manuscript, 50 pages. Not my real work, of course. My actual novel, the one Vanessa stole and I have now reclaimed and painstakingly rewritten, is locked away as securely as crown jewels, backed up in multiple encrypted locations. This document I'm sending Harrison is a decoy, a meticulously crafted work of strategic fiction. It's a thriller, as hinted in my diary, but the plot points are specific. Twists and turns that, were he to carelessly pass them along to, say, Vanessa for her next bestseller, could land them both in a very sticky morass of copyright infringement and intellectual property theft. It's a literary landmine, disguised as a promising debut. The next morning, Ethan is pacing his office, radiating frustration. Mia, my damn laptop is on the fritz again. It's slow, it's freezing up. You're good with this tech stuff, right? Fix it, he barks, already turning back to his phone, his attention span as fleeting as his integrity. I feign a slight reluctance, a sigh of the put-upon assistant. I can try, Ethan, but I'm not really an IT expert. Just do it. I sit down at his gleaming, oversized desk. While running diagnostics and clicking around with an air of technical competence, I deftly install a small, virtually undetectable piece of spyware. A little digital bird that will sing me songs of his private messages, his emails, his every clandestine communication with Vanessa, with Harrison, with his ghostwriter. Knowledge is power, and I intend to be very powerful indeed. The night of the launch party arrives, draped in velvet ropes and the blinding flash of paparazzi bulbs. The venue, a chic art gallery temporarily repurposed for Ethan's Ego Fest, is throbbing with music, forced laughter, and the clinking of champagne flutes. Ethan is in his absolute element, a supernova of narcissistic energy, holding court, his booming laugh echoing off the high ceilings. I'm a deliberately unobtrusive shadow in a simple, elegant dark dress, observing from a quiet corner, a small, knowing smile playing on my lips. Then I see her. Sarah Lim, one of the investigative journalists I'd accidentally invited. She's a petite woman with a deceptively mild demeanor and a reputation for eviscerating her subjects with meticulously researched facts. She approaches Ethan, her smile polite, almost demure, but her eyes are like sharpened obsidian. I'm too far away to hear their conversation over the din, but I don't need to. I see Ethan's confident, practiced smirk begin to waver. I see him run a hand through his perfectly tousled hair, a nervous tic he only exhibits under pressure. He's fumbling, his expansive gestures becoming smaller, more defensive. The first seed is sprouting. A moment later, a frantic Harrison Wells materializes at my elbow, his usually immaculate composure visibly frayed. His face is pale, a sheen of sweat on his forehead. Mia, he hisses, his fingers gripping my arm with surprising force, his voice a low, urgent whisper. That manuscript you sent me, the thriller. It's astonishingly good. You haven't shown it to anyone else, have you? Anyone at all? He tries for a tone of avuncular concern, but his eyes betray a desperate anxiety. We need to be very careful with this. Protect your work, you understand. From unscrupulous types. His nervousness is a blaring, beautiful siren. He's already shared it. He's already set his own trap in motion by giving it to Vanessa. His panic is the sweetest music. No, Harrison, I reply, my voice a breathy whisper of feigned innocence. Only you. I trust your judgment implicitly. Before I can savor Harrison's discomfort further, Vanessa slinks over, her sequined dress shimmering, her arm instantly draping around my shoulders in a theatrical display of sisterly affection. Her voice is a saccharine concoction of concern and conspiracy. Mia, darling, are you all right? This whole evening must be so terribly overwhelming for you. You're not used to this sort of intensity. She lowers her voice. Listen, about your writing, that little snippet Ethan read, I was thinking if you ever want a second pair of eyes, someone to, help guide you, I'd be more than happy to. We could even work on it together, make it really shine. Her eyes, however, aren't soft with sisterly love. They're sharp, calculating, darting around the room, assessing threats and opportunities. She's not offering to help me. She's trying to gauge how much I know, how much I might have, how much of a threat I might be to her stolen crown. The trap, so carefully laid, is now fully occupied. Ethan, Vanessa, Harrison. All three are caught in the snare, their own greed and deceit tightening the ropes. I watch them, a silent predator, and I know this is just the first act of their public unraveling. The fallout from the party is subtle at first, then steadily grows. It takes a few days, but the digital breadcrumbs I've laid start leading to interesting places. I'm idly scrolling through an online publishing forum, a habit from my previous life that now serves a more strategic purpose, when a thread catches my eye. A well-connected industry insider is buzzing about Harrison Wells shopping around a phenomenal, game-changing new thriller by an exciting, previously unknown debut author. The plot points they describe with breathless enthusiasm? They are, of course, lifted verbatim from the decoy manuscript I'd so generously provided Harrison. And the previously unknown author he's vigorously promoting? Vanessa Chen, naturally. He hadn't even bothered to change the character names. The sheer audacity, the lazy, arrogant confidence of it, almost makes me laugh out loud. He's serving her career up on a silver platter of my making. As if on cue, Ethan launches a brand new, highly publicized series on his streaming channel. He's titled it Inside a Writer's Mind, The Alchemy of Creation. The set is a caricature of a writer's study artfully messy bookshelves, a vintage typewriter strategically placed, Ethan himself clad in a cashmere turtleneck, looking pensive. He sits in his ridiculously expensive, ergonomically perfect chair, waxing lyrical about the tortured ecstasy of the creative process, the delicate dance of inspiration and discipline, the daunting abyss of the blank page. Every word, every carefully crafted sentiment, every poignant anecdote about writerly struggle is a distorted, plagiarized echo of conversations we had years ago. Those hushed, earnest, late-night discussions in my cramped dorm room, fueled by cheap instant coffee and shared dreams. He's not just stealing my past words, he's monetizing the very essence of my creative soul, repackaging my vulnerabilities as his profound insights. The sheer, unmitigated gall of it still has the power to take my breath away, even in this second life where I'm supposed to be hardened, cynical. Then my phone rings. Vanessa. Her voice is a carefully constructed symphony of distress, thick with unshed tears and dramatic pauses. Mia? Oh, Mia, thank God you answered. It's just awful, she begins, her tone wobbling precariously. Ethan, he's being so impossibly controlling lately, and the pressure of this new book deal Harrison secured for me, it's overwhelming. I feel like I'm suffocating. A delicate sniffle. I know it's a lot to ask, but can I please come and stay with you for a few days? Just to clear my head, to get away from it all. I almost applaud her performance. It's a masterclass in manipulation. She doesn't want solace, she wants surveillance. She wants to get inside my tiny apartment, to rifle through my things, to see if I'm working on anything else, anything that might expose her, anything that might complicate her fraudulent ascent on the shaky ladder of my stolen words. Oh, Nessa, of course, I say, my voice a carefully calibrated blend of sympathy and sisterly concern. My place is small, but you know I'm always here for you. Come over whenever you need to. The spider inviting the fly. At the office the next day, during a brief, unavoidable interaction, Ethan casually asks what I thought of his new Writer's Mind series. I respond with a gushing, almost embarrassing display of admiration. It's absolutely brilliant, Ethan. So profound, so insightful. You have such a unique way of articulating the writer's journey. You know, I add, as if struck by a sudden inspiration, you should really do an episode on the debilitating fear of failure, or perhaps the insidious nature of writer's block. I bet your audience would find that incredibly relatable. I'm practically handing him the shovel to dig his own grave, and he's grinning, lapping it up, utterly oblivious. Great ideas, Mia. See, this is why you're useful. Harrison calls later that afternoon, his voice practically purring with self satisfaction. Mia, darling, just had to share the good news. Vanessa's new pages are simply astonishing. The depth, the psychological complexity, the twists. She's a true prodigy. Publishers are already clamoring for it. Oh, Harrison, that's wonderful news. I gush, injecting just the right amount of breathless excitement into my voice. I'm so incredibly thrilled for her. She deserves all the success. Could I, would it be too much to ask if I could possibly read them? I'd be so honored to see what she's come up with. As an aspiring writer myself, it would be so inspiring. I play the part of the adoring little sister, the eager apprentice writer, desperate to learn from the supposed master. He chuckles, a smug, patronizing sound. Of course, my dear. I'll have my assistant send over the latest draft. For your edification. Vanessa arrives at my humble one-bedroom apartment later that evening, trailing two oversized designer suitcases and a cloud of cloyingly expensive perfume that instantly invades my small living space. She executes the role of the distraught damsel in distress with theatrical flair, dabbing at her perfectly dry eyes with a lace-trimmed handkerchief, sighing dramatically as she sinks onto my worn-out sofa. I make her a cup of herbal tea chamomile for its supposed calming properties. I listen patiently as she offers vague, unsubstantiated complaints about Ethan's supposed tyranny and the crushing weight of her newfound literary fame. All the while, my real manuscript, the one that is truly mine, the one that will soon detonate their carefully constructed world, is safely tucked away in a bank safety deposit box with multiple encrypted digital backups stored in geographically diverse locations. On my laptop, which I leave conspicuously open on my small desk, I'm working on a second decoy manuscript. This one is even more deviously tailored to their specific brand of larceny. While Vanessa takes a long, restful bath in my tiny bathroom, no doubt a pretext to snoop through my medicine cabinet and toiletries for any sign of, well, anything, I ensure my discreetly placed miniature recording devices are active. Her subsequent hushed, agitated phone calls to Ethan and Harrison over the next few days are pure, unadulterated gold. She's definitely working on something new, Ethan. I saw it on her laptop, but it's different. I can't quite figure it out. And I can't find any other hard copies anywhere. Harrison, darling, she's being suspiciously supportive, almost overly so. Do you think she suspects anything? Could she know about, you know? Their paranoia is a delicious, slowly simmering stew. Every worried whisper, every fearful speculation is another nail in their collective coffin. A few days into Vanessa's stay, I email the second installment of my decoy manuscript to Harrison. This part is particularly special. Woven into the ostensibly fictional narrative are plot points and character arcs that uncannily mirror Ethan's shadier, well-hidden business practices. The purchase of fake followers and engagement, the undisclosed quid pro quo sponsored content deals, the use of fake testimonials from non-existent clients. All of it cleverly disguised within a gripping, fast-paced tale of corporate espionage and betrayal. I wonder how long it will take for the penny to drop, for them to see their own grubby reflections in the fictional mire. Using the administrative access I still possess, and regularly reinforce, to Ethan's various social media accounts and content management systems, I begin to schedule his upcoming posts with subtle, almost imperceptible alterations. A sponsored post for a wellness supplement that directly contradicts nutritional advice he'd vehemently espoused a week earlier. A supposedly candid, behind-the-scenes photo from a luxury resort that, upon closer inspection, say by a particularly eagle-eyed follower, shows a reflection in a polished surface, revealing a professional lighting rig and a bored-looking photographer. Tiny, almost insignificant inconsistencies, designed to create a subtle, creeping sense of dissonance and inauthenticity in his meticulously curated brand narrative. Just enough to make his most devoted renegades pause, to plant a tiny seed of doubt. The online whispers begin as faint murmurs, then gradually gain volume. Observant literary bloggers, always hungry for the scent of industry drama, start to notice the strikingly uncanny similarities between the themes and even specific phrases used in Ethan's ongoing Writer's Mind video series and the tantalizing snippets of Vanessa Chen's highly anticipated upcoming novel that Harrison, in his eagerness to generate pre-publication buzz, has been strategically leaking to select media outlets. Questions about originality, about creative integrity, begin to surface in comment sections and on niche forums. Who is influencing whom? Is this a case of shared inspiration or something less savory? Harrison calls, and this time there is no purring, no smug self-satisfaction in his voice. He's practically apoplectic, his voice a strangled roar that crackles through my phone's speaker. Mia, what in the goddamn hell is going on? My sources, reliable sources, are telling me that you've been leaking Vanessa's manuscript. How could you? After all I've done for her, for you, by even considering your scribblings. I maintain a tone of shocked, wounded innocence. Leaked it, Harrison? Why on earth would I ever do something so malicious? Vanessa is my sister. I'm her biggest supporter. This is a terrible accusation. My phone is naturally recording his entire tirade. His furious, blustering accusation is a beautiful, entirely unintentional confession. He's implicitly admitting that he has been the one sharing her, which is to say, my work without proper authorization. Breach of trust, Harrison. Such an ugly phrase. The true pièce de résistance, however, is delivered courtesy of Vanessa herself. During her extended stay, she inevitably stumbles upon my second decoy manuscript, the one I've deliberately left open and seemingly unattended on my laptop on multiple occasions. She doesn't just glance at it. Oh no. During a carefully orchestrated absence on my part, a supposed emergency call from my landlord, my discreetly placed webcam captures her furtively photographing page after page with her phone. I almost feel a pang of pity for her. Almost. A week later, Vanessa, accompanied by a beaming Harrison, is in a high-stakes meeting with a senior editor from a major publishing house, one Harrison has been aggressively courting for months, promising them the next literary sensation. Vanessa, eager to impress, to prove her non-existent genius, begins to passionately outline some of the unique and groundbreaking plot points from her novel. She launches into a particularly convoluted subplot involving a double-crossing tech CEO and a stolen algorithm, an idea lifted almost word for word from the decoy manuscript she'd so diligently photographed. The editor, a sharp, experienced woman in her late 50s, with eyes that have seen every trick in the publishing playbook, raises a perfectly sculpted eyebrow. She taps her pen against her notepad. "That's remarkably familiar," she says slowly, her voice neutral but with an underlying edge of steel. "In fact, Miss Chen, that exact storyline, down to some of the character dynamics you've just described, was the central plot of a novel by, what was his name now? David Peterson, I believe. Published about 5 or 6 years ago by a small independent press. It? Didn't do very well, as I recall. Tanked rather spectacularly, actually. There was even a bit of a quiet scandal surrounding it, if memory serves. Accusations of fairly blatant plagiarism from an obscure foreign film. Vanessa's perfectly made-up face drains of all color, leaving behind a pasty, horrified mask. Harrison, sitting beside her, suddenly looks like he's swallowed a live, angry hornet. The word hangs unspoken in the air, heavy and damning. Plagiarist. Oh, this is unfolding more beautifully, more catastrophically for them than I could have ever dared to hope. The carefully constructed facade is not just cracking, it's beginning to crumble. And just when I'm savoring the delicious schadenfreude of Vanessa's public humiliation and Harrison's ensuing panic, an unexpected email lands in my personal inbox. The subject line is deceptively simple. Your voice. The sender's address is encrypted, anonymous. My heart executes a strange, hopeful little flutter against my ribs. With trembling fingers, I click it open. The message itself is brief, almost stark, yet it makes the breath catch in my throat. I read your submission to the mentorship program. It's extraordinary, more than extraordinary. We need to talk, urgently. J.L. Rivera. J.L. Rivera, the J.L. Rivera, Pulitzer Prize laureate, National Book Award winner, literary titan. The woman whose novels had been my lifeline during the darkest days of my youth, whose prose had taught me the true power of words. My hands are shaking so violently I can barely type out a coherent reply. This. This is the one card I've held closest to my chest, the one variable in this elaborate equation that none of them, not Ethan, not Vanessa, not Harrison, could ever have anticipated. This is the secret garden I've been cultivating in this second life, away from the toxic wasteland of my past. About 6 months after I reappeared, after the initial disorienting shock of my inexplicable rebirth had subsided, and the cold, clear fire of a new purpose began to burn within me, I did something purely for myself. For the Mia who had once loved writing more than breathing. I'd stumbled upon an announcement for a small, highly exclusive mentorship program run by a prestigious boutique publishing imprint. Submissions were to be made under a pseudonym judged solely on merit. Hope, a fragile, tentative seedling, had unfurled within me. I took my real manuscript, Echoes of Yesterday, the novel Vanessa had stolen and published as her own in that other life, the story I had now painstakingly reclaimed, rewritten, and infused with the raw, visceral experiences of 2 lifetimes, and I submitted it. I sent it out into the world under the name Anya Sharma. A few agonizing weeks later, an email had arrived for Anya Sharma. J.L. Rivera herself, the notoriously reclusive and discerning head of the very imprint sponsoring the program, had personally read Anya's submission. She hadn't just liked it, she'd been profoundly moved by it. She wanted to mentor Anya. And so, for the past several months, while I've been diligently playing the role of Ethan Reeves' meek, downtrodden personal assistant, while I've been meticulously weaving the intricate threads of my revenge, I've also been having secret late-night video calls with J.L. Rivera. We've discussed character arcs, thematic resonance, the rhythm of prose. She has pushed me, challenged me, and, most importantly, believed in me with an unwavering conviction that has begun to heal parts of my fractured soul I thought were damaged beyond repair. A few weeks ago, the mentorship had culminated in an astonishing offer. J.L. Rivera wanted to publish Echoes of Yesterday. Anya Sharma, no, Mia Chen, had a book deal, a real one. With one of Predni Selny Sklo Vozu Jaroz Beat, the most respected literary imprints in the world, I arranged to meet Rivera in a discreet, old-world charm kind of hotel bar in a quiet part of the city. She's smaller in person than her formidable reputation suggests, with intelligent, compassionate eyes that seem to see right through me, and a firm, no-nonsense handshake that belies her gentle demeanor. "Mia," she says without any preamble, as soon as we're settled into a secluded booth. Her voice is calm, direct. Or perhaps I should call you Anya for now. I know who you are, Mia. I've done my research. And I've been observing the rather distasteful situation unfolding with Mr. Reeves, your sister, and Mr. Wells. It's quite frankly unconscionable. I can only stare at her, momentarily speechless, my carefully constructed composure threatening to crack. Your writing, Mia, she continues, her voice softening but losing none of its underlying strength, is the genuine article. It's powerful, it's honest, it's necessary. It deserves to be read, celebrated, and those individuals who have sought to exploit and silence you, well, they deserve to face the consequences of their actions. I am offering you my full and unequivocal support, legally, professionally, personally. Whatever resources you require to reclaim your voice and your work, consider them yours. Meanwhile, back in the glossy, superficial world of Ethan Reeves, things are beginning to unravel at an accelerated pace. The inconsistencies in his online persona, the mounting whispers about the originality of his content, the growing unease from his lucrative brand sponsors, who are starting to get nervous about the negative buzz. It's clearly getting to him. He summons me into his glass-walled office, his usually tanned face looking pale and drawn. He's agitated, pacing the plush carpet like a caged animal. Mia, someone's been messing with my accounts, he says, his voice tight with a mixture of anger and fear. Posts are going up that I didn't schedule, or they're subtly altered. My DMs. I have a sickening feeling someone has been reading my private messages. Do you know anything about this? He looks at me then, a sharp, suspicious glint in his eyes, but it's quickly overshadowed by his overwhelming panic and towering ego. He's too self-absorbed, too convinced of his own untouchability to truly suspect me. His quiet, seemingly harmless little assistant. He's just terrified that his meticulously constructed house of cards is finally about to come crashing down, and he has no idea how right he is. It isn't just going to crash, I'm going to set it on fire. The annual Publishers Guild convention is scheduled for the following week. is the premier event of the literary calendar, a glittering confluence of authors, agents, editors, and media. And as fate would have it, Ethan Reeves, Vanessa Chen, and Harrison Wells are all slated to be featured panelists on a primetime discussion titled Authentic Voices in Modern Publishing: Finding Your Truth in a Digital Age. The irony is so thick, so grotesquely perfect, it's almost a physical ache in my chest. It's the perfect stage, the perfect, very public arena for their downfall. While Ethan is frantically engaged in damage control, desperately trying to plug the burgeoning leaks in his rapidly sinking digital ship, hiring cybersecurity consultants, and barking at his increasingly bewildered staff, I execute my masterstroke. It's not a single act, but a symphony of precisely timed simultaneous releases, designed for maximum impact. First, my novel Echoes of Yesterday by Mia Chen is launched globally by J.L. Rivera's prestigious imprint. It features a powerful moving forward by Rivera herself, in which she praises the novel as the most stunning, emotionally resonant debut I have encountered in over a decade, and alludes to the remarkable journey of its resilient and extraordinarily gifted author. Second, an exclusive, in-depth article is published on the website of a leading investigative journalism platform, the very one Sarah Lim works for. The piece, meticulously researched and corroborated with undeniable evidence, details Ethan Reeves' systematic theft of my early blog posts, diary entries, and private conversations over a period of years. It includes side-by-side comparisons of his supposedly original content and my stolen words. It even features damning, anonymized screenshots obtained from the tracking program I'd installed on his computer, showcasing his cynical strategies for content appropriation. Third, a comprehensive dossier is delivered simultaneously to the governing board of the Literary Agents Guild, several major news organizations, and the ethics committees of various publishing bodies. This dossier meticulously outlines Harrison Wells' long history of unethical and predatory practices, misrepresenting authors, knowingly pushing stolen or plagiarized work, locking young writers into exploitative contracts. It is supported by signed, notarized affidavits from 3 other writers he has similarly burned, writers I had tracked down over the past year. And finally, the pièce de résistance, the element I've saved for last, the audio recordings. Crystal clear recordings of Vanessa. Vanessa, in hushed tones, admitting to Ethan her calculated plan to steal my work to pass it off as her own. Vanessa, her voice tight with anxiety, confessing to Harrison her deep-seated fears that I, Mia, knew the truth about her deceptions. Vanessa, in her own unmistakable voice, condemning herself as a fraud and a thief. These recordings are leaked anonymously to a dozen influential pop culture and literary gossip blogs, guaranteed to go viral within hours. J.L. Rivera herself makes the initial explosive announcement at the Publishers Guild Convention's opening press conference. She doesn't just announce my book, she dramatically introduces me to the assembled media as her protégé, a brilliant new literary voice who was cruelly silenced and betrayed, and has now, against all odds, returned to reclaim her rightful place, stronger and more determined than ever. The narrative is irresistible: betrayal, injustice, artistic suppression, dramatic rebirth, and ultimate triumph. The media, predictably, devours it whole. Cameras flash, microphones are thrust forward, questions fly. I stand beside Julia Rivera, calm and composed, ready to tell my story. My true story. The much-anticipated panel on authentic voices in modern publishing is scheduled to begin in the main auditorium an hour later. The room is packed to capacity, buzzing with anticipation and the fresh, electrifying scent of scandal. Ethan, Vanessa, and Harrison are, I know, backstage, probably still blissfully unaware of the full extent of the storm that has just broken over their heads, no doubt preening and preparing their hollow platitudes about truth and authenticity. They have no idea they are about to become the unwilling stars of a very different kind of show. The moderator, a well-known literary critic, steps up to the podium. The stage lights glint off her glasses. "Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome," she begins, her voice amplified throughout the vast hall. "We have a slight but significant change to our scheduled panel discussion today. Unfortunately, Mr. Ethan Reeves, Miss Vanessa Chen, and Mr. Harrison Wells will not be joining us as previously advertised. A confused, intrigued murmur ripples through the massive audience. The moderator pauses for dramatic effect, then continues, a small, almost imperceptible smile playing on her lips. Instead, we have a very special guest joining us, a new voice already making international headlines today, an author whose journey is a testament to the resilience of the creative spirit, proudly mentored by the legendary J.L. Rivera. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a very warm welcome to the author of the extraordinary new novel Echoes of Yesterday, Miss Mia Chen. I walk out onto the stage. The sudden glare of the spotlights is blinding, but I don't flinch. I don't stumble. My steps are measured, confident. As my eyes adjust, I can see them. Ethan, Vanessa, Harrison. They are standing at the very back of the auditorium, near the exits, clearly having been alerted at the last possible second. Their faces. Oh, their faces are a study in abject horror. The color has completely drained from Ethan's usually ruddy, perpetually tanned complexion. He looks like a ghost of his former self. Vanessa seems to be swaying on her feet, her hand clutching her throat as if she's about to be physically ill. Harrison's jaw is slack, his eyes wide with a mixture of disbelief and dawning, gut-wrenching terror. They look like figures in a wax museum, frozen in attitudes of utter devastation. I take a slow, deliberate breath. I offer a small, genuine smile to the vast, expectant audience. And then, I step up to the podium, adjust the microphone, and I begin to speak. My voice is clear, unwavering, resonant, authentic, and it is entirely my own. The applause, when it finally comes after I've finished speaking, after I've laid bare the truth with a calm, unshakable dignity, is thunderous. It washes over me, a wave of validation, of understanding. It's still ringing in my ears, a sweet, empowering symphony, when Ethan corners me backstage, his expensive suit now looking rumpled and ill-fitting on his suddenly diminished frame. His eyes are bloodshot, wide with a desperate, pleading terror. "Mia," he chokes out, his voice raw, broken. "Mia, please. I swear to you, I always believed in your talent. Always. This whole thing, it was all just my stupid, misguided way of trying to get you noticed, to push you into the spotlight. I thought it would motivate you." He actually has the audacity to try and reach for my hand, his fingers trembling. I instinctively step back, out of his reach, my expression unreadable. Before he can embarrass himself further, Vanessa appears, a phantom in a now creased designer dress. Mascara has carved black, tragic rivers down her pale cheeks, a stark contrast to her usual immaculate, carefully constructed perfection. "Mia, oh God, Mia, I am so profoundly sorry," she wails, her voice thick with an emotion that might, in another universe, have been mistaken for genuine remorse. She lunges forward, clutching at my arm with surprising strength. It was stupid sibling rivalry. It got so out of hand, I never meant for it to. But I've always admired you. Your incredible gift with words. "We can fix this, Mia. Please say we can fix this. We're sisters." And just when I think the surreal backstage drama can't possibly escalate any further, Harrison Wells materializes, a desperate, hunted look in his eyes. He's clutching a folded document in his sweaty, trembling palm as if it's a holy relic, a last-ditch talisman against impending doom. "Mia, my dear, dear girl," he exclaims, his voice a strained, wheezing attempt at his former bonhomie. I knew it. I always knew it. That incredible spark, that raw, undeniable talent. It was always there, simmering beneath the surface. "I have a new contract right here." He thrusts the papers towards me. "Exclusive representation naturally, but with vastly improved terms. Extremely favorable. We'll make you a global phenomenon. Bigger than anyone." I look at each of them in turn, these three architects of my past misery, now so thoroughly undone by their own machinations. Ethan, the charismatic boy I once foolishly adored, now reduced to a desperate, pathetic stranger. Vanessa, my sister, forever imprisoned by the toxic cage of her own envy and insecurity. Harrison, the consummate opportunist, already trying to salvage something, anything, from the smoldering wreckage of his career, shamelessly attempting to hitch his wagon to my newly ascendant star. And to each of them, with a calm that feels as vast and deep as the ocean, I give the same quiet, unequivocal answer. No. To Ethan, I elaborate, my voice devoid of anger, holding only a cool, final clarity. Trust, Ethan, is not a toy to be played with and then carelessly discarded. You didn't just break it, you systematically pulverized it. Your actions were calculated and they were malicious and they were repeated. There is no coming back from that. There is no fixing this. We are done. His face, already pale, seems to crumple further, as if the last vestiges of his self-delusion have finally crumbled. To Vanessa, I speak even more softly, a note of profound sadness rather than triumph in my voice. Family, Nessa, shouldn't be a battlefield. It shouldn't be a never-ending competition for validation or success. I'm free from that toxic dynamic now. I genuinely hope for your own sake that one day you can be too. She just stares at me, her mouth agape, fresh tears silently tracing the path of the old ones. For the first time, she seems utterly speechless. To Harrison, I take the proffered contract he's still desperately waving in my direction. From the sleek, clutch purse J.L. Rivera's assistant had pressed into my hand earlier, I retrieve an elegant, crimson-inked fountain pen. With a steady hand, I uncap it and, in large, decisive capital letters, I write a single word across the front page of his precious document. Terminated. I hand it back to him, the ink still glistening. J.L. Rivera's legal team, Harrison, will be in formal contact with you and your counsel very shortly. Breach of fiduciary duty, facilitating plagiarism, misrepresentation of a client. Those are such ugly, career-ending terms, don't you think? His face turns a fascinating shade of mottled puce, his eyes bulging slightly. He looks like he might genuinely implode. They start to babble then, all three of them. A desperate, overlapping cacophony of excuses, justifications, pathetic pleas, and last-ditch promises. I don't engage. I don't argue. I don't even listen. I simply turn my back on them, on the toxic remnants of my past, and I walk away. J.L. Rivera is waiting for me just beyond the backstage curtain, a proud, almost maternal smile gracing her lips. My new agent, a sharp, dynamic, and incredibly kind woman named Elena, from Rivera's own fiercely loyal team, is there beside her. They envelop me in warm, genuine hugs that speak volumes more than any words could. Ready to go celebrate your official debut, Mia? Julia Rivera asks, her eyes twinkling with a fierce joy. I take one last fleeting look over my shoulder at the wreckage I've left behind. Ethan, Vanessa, Harrison. 3 diminishing figures already fading into the shadows, their faces masks of bewildered despair. I don't feel the hot rush of vengeance I might have once craved. I don't feel hatred, or even lingering bitterness. I feel a profound sense of lightness, of liberation, as if a heavy, invisible cloak I've been carrying for 2 lifetimes has finally, blessedly slipped from my shoulders. Yes, I say, my voice clear and strong, linking my arm through Julia's. Yes, I most certainly am. 1 year later. The sunsets from the balcony of my small, whitewashed beach house are, without exception, breathtaking. Every evening, the sky performs a new masterpiece, painting the horizon with strokes of fiery orange, soft lavender, and dusky rose. I sit here now, a glass of chilled Sauvignon Blanc sweating gently in my hand, the pages of my second novel, a contemporary story about resilience and found family, rustling softly in the warm, salty sea breeze. Echoes of yesterday. It hasn't just been a critical success or a bestseller. It's become something of a cultural touchstone, a book that people press into the hands of their friends, saying, "You have to read this." Critics have lauded its emotional depth, its unflinching honesty, its unique narrative voice. Some have even remarked that it reads with the wisdom and poignancy of a life lived twice over. If they only knew the literal truth of that observation. My new agent, Elena, a veritable whirlwind of efficiency and encouragement, bless her tireless heart, emailed me this morning with another cascade of good news. The international rights for Echoes have now been sold in 12 more countries, bringing the total to 27. And the film adaptation talks are no longer just talks. A highly respected female director and an Oscar-winning screenwriter are officially attached to the project. It's all still rather surreal, these dizzying new heights of a dream I once thought had died with me. I rarely, if ever, consciously think about them anymore. Ethan, Vanessa, and Harrison. Their names, their faces, have receded into the distant, murky background of a life that feels increasingly alien to me. Occasionally, a headline or a snippet of online gossip flickers past my awareness, like distant, unimportant echoes. Ethan's much-vaunted influencer empire imploded with spectacular, very public finality shortly after the convention. The sponsors fled, the followers deserted him, and his carefully crafted online persona became a laughingstock, a meme for inauthenticity. The last I heard, through a vaguely reliable industry grapevine, he was working an entry-level, soul-crushing marketing gig for a regional carpet cleaning company. The very kind of mundane, unglamorous existence he used to so vocally and viciously sneer at. Vanessa, after a brief, humiliating attempt to rebrand herself as a victim of circumstance, disappeared entirely from the publishing world and, it seems, from public life altogether. Rumor has it she's attempting to rebuild some semblance of a quiet, anonymous life, far away from the bright lights and judgmental eyes of the industry she tried so desperately and deceitfully to conquer. I can almost find it in myself to hope she finds some measure of peace, away from the corrosive envy that consumed her. Harrison Wells' agency? It folded within months of the scandal. Multiple lawsuits from other disgruntled former clients, a formal censure from the Literary Agents Guild, and a reputation so thoroughly, irrevocably tarnished that no author of any standing would touch him with a 10-foot pole. Their individual stories, their dramas, their self-inflicted miseries are no longer intertwined with the narrative of my life. They have become, as they always should have been, irrelevant footnotes in someone else's cautionary tale. Julia Rivera, or just Julia, as she now firmly insists I call her, is visiting for the weekend. Our relationship has evolved organically from mentor-protege to something much richer, a deep and abiding friendship built on mutual respect, shared laughter, and an uncanny understanding of the writer's often tortured soul. She arrives bearing not only a case of excellent champagne, but also even bigger, more astonishing news. Echoes of Yesterday has just been officially nominated for the National Book Award. We stand on my balcony, clinking our glasses together as the sun dips below the shimmering expanse of the ocean, the waves whispering their ancient secrets to the shore. We toast to second chances, to unexpected triumphs, to the enduring power of authentic storytelling. It really is so very different, isn't it? Julia says quietly, her gaze fixed on the vibrant horizon, her voice filled with a warmth that envelops me. This new life of yours. I nod slowly, a genuine, unforced smile spreading across my face. It's not just the external trappings of success, the awards, the accolades, the unexpected financial security. It's something far more profound. It's the quiet, steady thrum of peace in my own heart. It's the genuine, nurturing connections I've forged with people like Julia, like Elena, like the readers who write me heartfelt letters sharing how my story has touched their lives. It's the profound, unshakable feeling of being whole, of being exactly where and who I am meant to be. Later that evening, while rummaging through a few old boxes I'd finally gotten around to having shipped from my previous cramped and memory-laden apartment in the city, my fingers brush against familiar worn leather, my old diary, Ethan's weapon, my former cage of shame. With a strange sense of detachment, I flip through its crinkled pages, the familiar youthful handwriting filled with earnest observations, adolescent angst, secret whispered dreams, and half-formed story ideas. I realize with a sudden jolt of clarity that I haven't written a single word in it for months. Not since I started living a life that I no longer needed to hide from. A life where my truths could be spoken aloud, woven into the fabric of my novels, shared openly and without fear. My fiction is where my deepest heart resides now, out in the world for anyone to find. I take the old diary, its pages filled with the ghost of a girl I barely recognize anymore, out onto the moonlit balcony. The ocean is a vast, dark expanse, a silver path, a equals sign, frac 1, 2's dot b dot h dollar, cross the water where the moonlight kisses the waves. Slowly, deliberately, page by page, I begin to tear out the entries. The ink is faded in some places, blurred by tears I no longer remember shedding for heartaches I no longer feel. With each liberated page, I feel myself letting go of another tiny, lingering fragment of the past. The pain, the humiliation, the betrayals, the suffocating despair of the girl who once thought her life was irrevocably over. I toss them, one by one, into the gentle night breeze, watching as the currents catch them, carrying them out over the dark water, surrendering them to the vast, cleansing anonymity of the sea. The last page, the one detailing my naive, hopeful plans for a future with Ethan as my champion, flutters from my fingers and disappears into the soft darkness. I take a deep, cleansing breath of the cool, salt-tinged air. Free. Utterly and completely free. The next morning, I wake before the sun, to the gentle sounds of the waking world. The sky beyond my window is just beginning to blush with the soft, promising colors of dawn. I pad barefoot into my small, airy kitchen and make myself a strong cup of coffee, the rich aroma a familiar, comforting ritual. Cup in hand, I walk to my writing desk, the simple, uncluttered wooden table that overlooks the ever-changing expanse of the ocean. My new manuscript waits for me, a stack of pristine, expectant pages. A fresh chapter, a new story waiting to be told. With a profound sense of peaceful purpose, a quiet, contented smile playing on my lips, I pick up my favorite pen, feel its familiar weight in my hand, and I begin to write the first line.